The time has come. Welcome to LTFGO Mission Command. I'm Commander Me Omega. It is time to Let's Talk Fate Grand Order. Vice Commander Lucky Bunny has your orders.
Everyone, I hope you are enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka it's a language gimmick, Konobaka. And while we here at Studio Omega like to bring you the latest FGO related news and memes, we will be talking about the current and future events for both the JP and EM version of the game. So anyone not wanting spoilers should go learn ninja techniques.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the cold open. And unless I was a complete idiot, yes, I did go back and robotify that because I can do that with Audacity.
Booyah.
But yeah, hey, we're here. We're doing Let's Talk FGO. And strap in, kids. This is going to be a long one because there's a Teach Me Omega-sensei today. Mm-hmm. I finished Shimosa, so we're going to talk about Shimosa. And Halloween started, so we're going to talk about Halloween. That's why I'm okay with not waiting until tomorrow when JP will have their stream and we'll know whatever the fuck they're doing next because that'll just be another goddamn thing to talk about.
So much words.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking. Big talk. But, yeah, so I guess we should go ahead and move through our regular intro segments. Since we're here, we did everything. And I will start by reminding you that this episode is brought to you by patrons alike. Go Comics, Quo, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Sodasan0424, and Video Gamer 75. And then if you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and we appreciate the support. Yes, brought to you by viewers like you, etc. Someday when we're super fancy, we'll just have like an intro slide to just slap that in there. But are we super fancy, Lucky? Are we super fancy?
No, I think our appeal is in our grassroots approach.
Yes. We have been doing this for, a while. 2 years, basically, because this was one of the earliest episodes of Let's Talk FGO was, hey, look at this cool new Halloween that's going to come out. But, now that we've gotten some space, it's time to check in with everybody's favorite Kohai. We're the senpai.
I'm about to say, son.
Alright, anyway, I'm going to do the intro thing. I mean, not, because that tab's muted again.
God damn it.
So I have to unfuck it.
Senpai!
Note to self, also made technical difficulty slide.
Yeah. And the reason, by the way, why that happens is because that, for some reason, the person who made that sound cue, recorded a lot more of the line, because there is more, because it was like a skit or something they did on a stream. So there's a lot more to the line, and I'm like, I just don't want the extra shit, because that takes forever. Anyway, we're here. Welcome to Wake the Fuck Up Senpai, regular second for pro tips. Here's some general advice for mission events. The store CEs increase enemy spawns, usually to a max of 100%, which is the most you get when you max limit break them, so they're pretty safe to max limit break right away. You can't really stack up more than you can get anyway. Conversely, banner CEs are usually currency drops. Those you don't want to consolidate, you usually want to keep those split until the event is over. You'll make more currency that way, assuming you've earned enough, because usually it's like +2 drops for a max limit break, whereas 4 of them individually would be like +4 of the drop. So just keep that in mind for these mission type events where you usually have to manage like enemy spawns and stuff. Alright, so we have no records and no evil.
That might change next week. As I said, I'm saving my chords for
Yeah, you're waiting for a particular day.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
I've thrown some tickets tomorrow. And I don't think, I got a Arlo Shinjuku, that's not worth a note. Explicitly in the notes. But yeah, so we haven't done a lot. It's in previous thing ended. Well, not quite, but we worked our way through the last story, and now a new event has started, so nothing really phenomenal has happened yet.
Yeah.
So now it's time. We're gonna pilot a new little intro segment. This was suggested to us by one of our listeners, and I kind of figure we might as well try. So this is called "Did You Finish Your Master Missions?" So that's a no then.
Oh, actually...
Well, this week is actually pretty easy, so hopefully everybody did them. It's funny, but it gives us an easy way to start the segment. So basically the idea is the show tends to come out towards the end of the week, just before Master Missions roll over, and while you can usually figure out the most efficient route to do this on, the subreddit real fast, or just, know it yourself, sometimes they're a little more complicated. Maybe you did actually forget, or were busy earlier in the week and are like, oh shoot, what are the Master Missions this week? So this little segment is supposed to be a quick reminder, and then if there needs to be any advice about where you can go to take those out, we'll give it to you. So this one's pretty easy, and by the way, before anybody says anything, yes, there are 6 listed, because the 7th is always do all the other Master Missions. Duh.
Duh.
So this one's pretty easy, like I said. You need to defeat 30 enemies. Servants and certain bosses don't count. That should be pretty easy. Because we're farming for Halloween where you have to beat up lots of enemies. So should have got that one pretty clear. You need to acquire 8 statues in battle, and in this case I'm using statue to refer to both monuments and pieces because that's way too long to type and say.
Mhm.
And then acquire 3 Saber Archer, Caster, or Berserker statues in battle, and 3 Lancer, Rider, Assassin statues. So if you do both of those, you should get the second one up, the 8 statues. Hopefully you've handled this one already, because I don't really know a way other than the daily quests, so I don't know if with only a couple days left you got enough time to get everything.
Well, actually, I should say this. Statues and the statues do drop in the Halloween event.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing is
Yeah.
they drop from story usually when you defeat servant bosses. So
Yeah,
if
no,
you
I've
haven't
gotten...
done with Shimosa yet and working on Halloween, hopefully you've got them all out of the way. And tonight, as we're recording the show, so by the time this is public on YouTube, the next set of story quests should have gone live. But I also don't know exactly. I don't remember off the top of my head without looking at it what the boss comp for Halloween 3 is. So, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, if you've been on top of Halloween and doing some minor farming on top of that, there's a pretty good chance.
The easiest way is to work on this through the servant, the Ascension Mats daily quest. But even if you haven't had to stop to do those, you probably should have worked your way through most of these just doing Halloween story. And like I said, some Shimosa. If you haven't, catch a daily or wait till the story quest roll over. And if there is a better way to get statues out in battles besides daily quests, let me know. I don't really think they drop anywhere special, usually. But there may be some servant bosses in free quests, drop them along with Void Dust or the like. And then the last 2 are complete 5 quests and complete 10 quests. I think the complete 10 quest doesn't activate until you've completed the 5 ones, so I think you have to do 15 total. Either way, you're farming for Halloween, hopefully, and see if you're actually on FGO doing stuff. You'll clear these pretty easy. So yeah, pretty easy stuff. And we're just gonna, power on through them. And we'll let you know next week, did you finish your master missions? Let us know what you think about the segment. Any specific details you'd want. Like, if these were more complex, like, defeat 10 bone enemies, then we'd probably be like, yo, your easiest place is to go to Fuyuki and punch skeletons.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, like that bong I made. So, let's see. That took under 10 minutes. Let's jump into the news really quick. So, hey, in English, Halloween Strike Demonic Climb Himeji Castle War is starting. It's going from 10:23 to 11:07. Solid 2 weeks. It's exactly like the pregame we rewrote. There's no need to reiterate anything. We covered it all last week. Everything was the same.
Yep, I said we'll give some thoughts on that later.
Yeah, I think the only, news thing is that, do be aware that there's no, big all-together rate-up day because there are so many SRs in the pool.
Yeah.
So they're all on, rotating rate-up for SRs. But most of those aren't new, so I don't know how much you care. I know, Woo and Penth are in there, so they're pretty recent, but still. I don't think there's a lot of, those are all, I think those are all permanent. So, I don't know. Is
Gen King or Sashishin permanent too? I forget.
I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I know that he's got a true name concealed, but I will double check if he's story locked or not. No, I think he's also permanent.
Oh, okay, then I might get spooked by him. Because I'm gonna say right now, again, side events giving more characterizations to characters.
Yeah, this is the excuse to rescue characters who got a bad run because of plot.
Yeah.
Also, English. A, there was an Android bug, and B, the bug got fixed. No news on compensation yet. Apparently JP still needs to figure it out, but they let you know that they pushed out a patch. But apparently this update may have removed some anti-root / emulator stuff, but don't do that, your ass will get banned.
Don't do that. Only villains do that.
Exactly, never go for this. Only villains do that. But yeah, so apparently the update removed some of the code that normally prevents you from using it on rooted devices or with certain emulators. Because normally these types of games are all about combating that, and that's missing, so you can do dumb stuff. Don't do dumb stuff. They will fix it, and they will find you, and they will... Even if you make dumb test accounts, they'll get you. And honestly, I don't know why you would bother, because they're gonna patch it and unfuck it. So I don't know why you would, just to sass them, I guess, bother with any of it, so don't. And some people are like, oh, it's terrible they let this get through. I don't know. People were people were bitching super fast about, oh, there's a bug, it's not fixed, and they're like, oh shit, they threw out the fix really fast. Oh, there's another problem? Like, okay, yes, in an ideal world, programmers and troubleshooters catch all the problems at once and fix them, and every release is perfect. That doesn't happen, though. It's like the whole thing with the Greek word for utopia can mean simultaneously perfect and impossible. It's a pun. So yeah, I don't know. Hey, maybe the code that was responsible for that was what was causing the glitch. And somebody so snipped it out, and then they were like, oh, oops, that was kind of important. But the game runs now, so whatever. It probably just means extra compensation when the fix comes out. So, you get that damn quartz you're always about. Alright, yeah, so there was a little ghost intermission, but we're moving on with that. That's all the news. We're not covering JP because they haven't streamed yet. From our perspective.
Yeah, so they should be, streaming here in about 12 hours, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that. It's going to be at, maybe a little bit less. Is it, or maybe a little bit... No, yeah, I don't know. Time zones. I'm trying to remember, who said what at when, but it's early in the morning for us, so, no bother delay.
I'll see if I can get, an exact time here. Hang on.
Still around the 10-minute mark, yes. Lucky will look up the time.
Twitter. And I'll go to YouTube as well, because sometimes they put a stream countdown on there. No, I do not want to know where your tracer fluid is. God damn it. I just want to go straight to YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's go on my account. Switch. Oh, hey, by the way, we have exactly 2,100 subscribers. Go us.
Nice.
It is nice.
But yeah, so there's a stream upcoming. It got delayed slightly because there was a lot of bad weather in Japan, so... They're going to do it then, and I believe, technically, let me double check. I believe, technically, FGOJP has nothing going on right now, because Oniland ended already.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's see here. Oh, yep, they do have it. Okay, this says live in 9 hours, as of we record.
So 6 plus 9 is 3, so that's 5, I think, here. 4 or 5. I don't know, maths.
Yeah, so, let's see here. It says they're going to be starting... Yeah, it's going to be... Actually, it's not as late as I thought. It says it's going to be getting started at 1:10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
They say.
Your time.
Yeah, my time. PST.
Yes, which is technically the server time. But anyway, yeah, so...
Yeah.
Not that bad.
It's not that bad, so I'll definitely stay up and watch it.
Yeah, I probably won't, because it'll be going on for a while, but I might catch some updates anyway. We'll talk to you about that next week. So, technically, in my notes, Shimosa is first, but I don't know, what do you think? Do you want to flip that? Because Shimosa will be comprehensive, spoilery thoughts for people who may not be done with it yet.
You know what? That's fine. Yeah, let's switch it around.
Okay.
Also, I put a small edit in. I put a small edit into your first line there.
Okay. Well, all right. So let's just jump right in. Halloween first impressions. Literally, my first bullet point is Hime is great. I will fight you. And Lucky made sure to add a we in there.
Yeah.
So, it has come to our attention that on the internet, there are certain people who don't like how Osakawa Hime's dialogue has been translated into English. Now, before we get into actually discussing this point, I have 2 things I want to say for surezies. To just cut some junk discussion off at the pass. Number 1, this is kind of a super point of don't be a dick, which is our 0th server rule, by the way. That's the eternal server rule, don't be a dick. So don't be a dick to the translators, no matter what weird opinion you have about a phone game. But first off, you guys know that JP had to sign off on this, right? They had to at least glance at the script and say it was okay. Mm-hmm. These are the people who stuck us with Altria, after all. They have to look at it and approve it, so there's that. If it was really so off base, they probably would have made them do it differently. Yeah. Just saying, right? The Japanese are known for being a little micromanagey about the message. So, if this was so far off as some people think it is from the original Japanese, I don't think it would have been okay.
No.
Which brings us to our second point. I have heard conflicting reports. I've heard some people say that in Japanese, Osakawa Hime's dialogue was a little more obscure, a little more memey, kind of like how Blackbeard is, and we'll talk about that more later. I've heard other people say, no, according to these translations or that translations, her dialogue was perfectly normal and fine. So, I don't know. Lucky and I don't really read Japanese,
Well, and here's the point I think that we should bring out. If you don't read Japanese either, why the fuck are you on this fight?
Right, don't at us, basically. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't literally read Japanese and can explain to me in a technical fashion why or why not you would translate things a certain way, don't talk about it because you don't fucking know. We don't know either. We admit this, but you don't know either. So, we're not going to have an ignorant fight.
An idiot fight.
Yes. So, I just accept that I don't know for sure, and unless somebody can, like, explain to me the whole process, I don't buy that you're an expert either. So,
yeah. And the second point of this is, being that I don't actually know how it is in Japanese, looking at her now, and I'm still okay with it, because it makes me laugh.
Yeah, we both like her a lot, I think, is the thing. Like, we're both okay with that. So we'll unpack the dialogue a little bit more, but
yeah.
The thing I want to say is, like, I know that you like, oh, but a fan translation was very plain spoken. Yeah, let's think about translation and localization are different, and if you're actually really interested in this topic, we talk about this a lot on WhatsApp over the weeks. Like, we're constantly talking about anime and video game, like, localizations, translations, how stuff gets handled.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, tune in for our more detailed thoughts about some of that, about all that stuff. But I assume that translators are not translating things necessarily literally, because that's very complex and chunky, and fan translators for FGO are probably translating it so because you don't read Japanese, you can read this and follow it. So, like I said, unless you literally have translated it and can speak to that, don't talk about the translation, because the person who translated it for a purpose, which I assume was legibility. Because to talk into an actual discussion of dialogue and stuff, there's a lot that is lost in translation, especially with Japanese. Like, for instance, pronouns. We talk about this a lot in WhatsApp. There's a whole lot of complex baggage to pronouns in Japanese. They have different pronouns for, like, I and you that mean different things, and can be literally translated several different ways. Usually, an English script will ditch all of that and just put the I or the you in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe if it's a particularly rude way to say you, they'll, like, go like, you bastard, you know, they'll spice it up a little. Temera. Like, they'll spice it up to let you know how rude they're being, but generally we let all that pass. So, that's lost in translation. Dialects are often lost in translation. Like, you guys might not know, but I'm pretty sure Shuten speaks in the Kansai dialect, the Kansai Ben.
Mm-hmm.
There's, as far as I know, there's almost no effort other than maybe occasionally dropping her G's. But I don't really remember that. There's not a lot of effort to try and localize that because, hey, it's a regional accent. It doesn't translate. Like, I know that in the past, some anime has, like, tried to translate that as, like, a southern accent. But that's not literal, so it's like...
Yeah.
It's like trying to decide, oh, this character should have some kind of northeastern accent. Are they Brooklyn or Boston? I don't fucking know.
Well, actually, a lot of people actually saw this in Shimosa when Musashi was getting super flowery with Munenori. Like, I couldn't tell you off the top of him, but I'm pretty sure Musashi went into some highbrow fucking speech.
Right, she went into a much more formal language, which is another thing about Japanese.
Yeah.
Japanese has different protocols on what words and particles you use when you're being more or less formal, which English doesn't really do. We have differences between formal and informal speech or writing, but it's not quite as structured, I think, in English.
Well, I think it has to usually do with, like, inflection in your tone of voice and body language rather than the actual words.
And I mean, there is some word choice in there, but a lot of that has to do with just the nature of word choice, and sometimes that's different too. So, like, there's stuff that is either cut for translation or is not translatable in a compact way. So, that's the thing I want to think about. And speaking of lost in translation, I think, like, regardless of what your thoughts on her meme way of speaking, in general, I think there is some stuff that previously may have been lost to the English-speaking audience with her character. Because there are several points where the dialogue refers to her as a shut-in, and we've talked about this hikomori. In Japan, that's a very loaded word. Like, that's a very loaded term. That's not, to the mainstream Japanese culture, being a hikomori, being a shut-in, is not a good thing. And when they say that, they mean, like, serious, not just like, oh, I don't like to go outside. Like, you literally never leave your house except to go to the convenience store like once a week and buy snacks from a vending machine, right? Like extreme shut-in syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not considered a favorable thing, and in fact, because there were apparently I did a little bit of research. There were apparently some violent crimes committed by these sorts of personages in the 90s. So there is even sometimes a little bit of a stereotype that hikikomori can even be like violent. Not that I think that's starting to die down because it's been a long time, and that, like, even without knowing a lot about brains, I'm sure you, Lucky, and some of the audience will be like, that doesn't really sound like the profile of a classic shut-in, like going out and attacking people. That doesn't seem like the normal symptom. But it's a stereotype, so when in Japanese they refer to her as a hikikomori, there's a lot of baggage the audience should take away from that.
Yeah.
Which, when you just translate that literally to shut-in in English, is completely missed, because that's not what we think of like that.
No.
Like, I think the closest analog would be to make a joke about her, like, living in her mom's basement, but I don't think that works because somebody would have to, A, speak the reference, as opposed to just her portraying it through, like, her dialogue or a couple of, like, a single word drop-ins. Mm-hmm. And also, B, that's kind of confusing because she literally lives at the top of the castle. Like, it's hard to make that reference. Like, I guess, like, if you as the player character could have had a line about, like, or maybe Mash would be like, wow, gee, I would have thought you lived in the basement, but, like, that's really rewriting the dialogue just to make the joke land.
Yeah. I think what, personally, I think localization was trying to do is they were trying to do is they were kind of relying on their players' own knowledge to maybe understand some of these jokes and references, which is kind of a mixed bag because...
Yeah, it's true, but I think what they are going for is that hopefully the audience of this is weeby enough to understand that Osakabe Hime is a super weeb, and that's awkward and possibly unpleasant.
And that's the problem with the localization, is that sometimes you don't actually know what level of weeb your audience is.
You can't necessarily know your audience 100%.
Yeah.
I think, though, the effect of what they were going for is still in the right area.
Oh, I do. I do as well. Like, I can tell you right now, even when the Hime was peppering all her Japanese, like, I understood every single word. I said,
well, and also, here's the thing. I've watched videos with Japanese people who are bilingual, like, talking to each other. That is actually kind of how that works.
Well, yeah. Like, I literally just got done watching an episode where, like, they're speaking Japanese and they're dropping in English words.
Yeah, it happens all the time in, like, anime and stuff, but I've also, like I said, I've watched real people in videos, like, having a conversation, and then they're like, one of them was like, they were talking about obscure Japanese slang, funnily enough, and then one of them was like, yeah, so it's like to like, scratch or don't scratch, blah, 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 I don't know the English word for it, and then they jump to Japanese, and they say the Japanese word for scab, and then the other one's like, oh, scab, and they're like, yeah, that's right, that was the word. Yeah. And so they transition back and forth. So if, like, and like we said, it's not uncommon first of all, English is taught in Japanese schools anyway. Yeah. So, but it's not uncommon for pop culture to use characters who pepper in dialogue from other languages as to, like, show how educated they are. Mm-hmm. So it makes perfect sense for them to flip that and be like, oh, so she knows some stuff. She has a lot of nerdy interests, but she lets them immediately bleed out into her speech pattern.
Well, and, like, also, frickin', you can't tell me you weebs out there don't, like, at least use memes that have, just random Japanese, like, you know, going, Nani the fuck? Or, Yamero!
Yeah, no.
Fucking JoJo references out the wazoo. It's like...
No, that's the thing. She's speaking like a meme.
Yeah, and so, like...
Here's the point I would like to bring up now. Because I'm like, people are like, oh, they changed her character. The text deliberately compares her to Blackbeard as a character, and to real-life otaku. Blackbeard's a proper noun. NA localization did not make that up. I scare quoted there. You can't see me, but I did it. Like, that would mean that there was a proper noun in the Japanese text, and I'm going to assume that they compared her to it. So, hey, have you ever talked to Blackbeard in FGO? He's kind of weird, going lol, talking about normies explode, stuff like that. Yeah, she's supposed to be the same type of character. They deliberately make that comparison. Also, she's pen pals with Tamamo, who is a really idiosyncratic way of speaking.
Mortified.
Yeah, I was gonna actually explain that, but it doesn't come across too much in the English text because it's hard to do, but I believe in the original Japanese, Tamamo has a really, like, fucked up in the way of, like, understanding her way of speaking. where she like mixes archaic language with like pop culture terms or her own slang, like just Mikon.
Yeah.
But that line that Lucky referenced in Extella Link, there's a point where Tamamo says, you can hear the dialogue. What she says in Japanese is Tamamo shock. Now, I'm not an expert, like I said, but I'm pretty sure I'm familiar enough with the grammar. I'm gonna say that you could probably translate that as Tamamo is shocked. She uses Tamamo to refer to herself, and then shaku. There aren't a lot of those gap words, so you wouldn't say, like, in Japanese, I don't think you would literally say Tamamo is shocked. You'd, like, put Tamamo and shock together, like they did. But that doesn't convey the fact that she says shock in English, which shows that very clearly she is not speaking in a very formalized, proper manner. So the localizers on Extella Link translated it as a pun, to let you know that even though she's saying something which sounds serious, her tone is like, gasp, Tamamo, shock! She's still speaking in a way that's kind of kitschy and informal. She makes a pun. Tama mortified.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's what they're going for with Osakabe Hime, is like, she's probably speaking in a very informal, possibly referential matter, that works for that. And like I said, it could be that, yes, maybe they spiced it up a little to make sure that you get the point that she's kind of a dork. Because, like we said, the Japanese people would understand the moment they, like, showed her room and they, like, talk about how she's a hikomori. She's a super big shut-in. Keeping in mind that she's she was actually secretly the antagonist. We give you the spoiler warning. You should have hopefully done the story missions, but yeah, she's been the bad guy the whole time. Kind of. She wished upon the Holy Grail to create eternal Halloween so she doesn't have to go outside. Which is great. I love that. I love that plot.
It's so serious, yet so not.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. That sets the tone of Halloween perfectly. You're like, this is for real life, but also giant robot fights. I love it so much. And like, hey, we could be biased. We really like the way the event is handled because it's a comedic event. So,
oh yeah. Again, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard that people were upset about her dialogue, I was legit confused. I was like, why? Like,
yeah, I don't. Let me see. Where was my thoughts before we get into that? Because there is a bullet point at the last that I want to throw in there to just completely scare off anybody who was mad about it. And still listening.
Don't get upset if your fucking fantasy waifu doesn't live up to your fantasy.
Okay, yeah, we'll just jump into that. So yeah, I don't want to be cynical, but people who complain about FGO make me cynical because at least the loud ones are usually assholes about it. Like we try to see all sides of the story, and like there have been legitimate complaints over the years, right? And like we said, we don't know how far off her dialogue in Japanese is from the English. But my cynical thought is, people, because they couldn't understand the Japanese perfectly, were under the impression that, like, yes, nerd queen, like, oh, neat Hime's gonna come here, and she's gonna be a cool nerd. She's gonna be what I want to be. She's got all these fucking figures and merch in her room that I can't afford, and she's living her best life. And then it turns out that, oh no, she's just a dork. She's just a not cool nerd. Like, she's not living her best life cooped up in her room with all her merch. And so people are like, either it's like, oh, she's not as cool as I wanted her to be, or are they making fun of me kind of thing? Like, are they holding up the mirror to me? Which I will say, as a person who might technically be considered a shut-in, that's because I live somewhere where there's nothing interesting to walk to and I don't drive. So I live in like a non-urban area, so like I don't leave my house much because there's nothing to do. Like, that's not like I have, like, agoraphobia or anything. It's just, like, my current living situation is, why the flip would I go outside other than to walk up the hill to McDonald's or, like, the Save-A-Lot or something?
Save-A-Lot.
Yeah. Publix, Save-A-Lot. We got some stuff down here. Publix is actually across a highway, so I don't know if I'd want to walk over there to get groceries. That seems like kind of a pain in the butt. But yeah, I don't drive, so it's, hey, guess what? We live in America.
America!
If I lived in an urban center like I hope to someday, then it'd be like, take a bus or walk down some streets, Public transport, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Which, by the way, in Japan, there's a shitload of public transport, so it's like, you don't really have an excuse not to go outside. It's just, they don't. And Osakabe Hime, honestly, I think she plays up the social pressure aspect a lot, too, where she's like, oh, now I'm a heroic servant, I could be summoned to a Holy Grail War to do battle. I don't want to do that. I feel social pressure, I must shut in. Kind of thing, So yeah, like I said, I personally don't take any objection to her character.
Well, as I said, actually seeing this event has made me like her a lot more.
Oh no, I love her. She's great. I I at all don't mind. I said this, like, somebody was like, I feel like one of our community members said that, like, I think she's a little creepy. I'm like, I would personally, like, obviously that's subjective, but I personally don't find her creepy or unnerving. She's just socially awkward and maladjusted, and I'm like, that's just my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. That's not unnerving, that's just, yeah, that's how it is. Listen, I run an internet community. I know how this is. But yeah, so, like, I'm not upset if they're, like, holding up the mirror to me kind of thing, or anything like that, so, yeah. No, I think, like I was saying, I think the only technical point before I was like, maybe people are upset because they're, like, disappointed she's not cool, when I presume she was never cool, was that it's possible that they did push her dialogue up to make her more obviously awkward, and then the follow-through on that would be, well, maybe people are upset that she's awkward. I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be awkward, kids. She owns a Kid Gill body pillow. So honestly, though, that moves in the next point, that it is weird, though. Like, we've seen a little bit of these, like, because at least I follow the Grand Order bot on Twitter, so I, like, see some highly rated Reddit posts and stuff. I've seen people making jokes. A couple of the memes have been communicated to us. There's a great one where they did a Hime Speak version of the Navy SEALs copy pasta, which is amazing. I love it. That's having a sense of humor about this whole thing. But yeah, so that's the through point. And then the thing, though, that people have mostly been coming to in our community have been like, either they're like, yo, I've heard some people aren't cool about Hime's dialogue. I don't know what's going on there. Or honestly, I have heard more people who are like, I'm uncomfortable with her sexual aspects, her forwardness of like, yo, I'm gonna press my boobs against you, or gasp, your room, do you make out with servants there? When your response is like, no.
Nope. Mash is like, I am interested too.
I am also interested in hearing this. I'm like, my response was, it's not all fun and games, kids.
It's
thinking
not.
of, which also Kabahime instantly comes back, oh yeah, Kiyohi's there, so it wouldn't be. I'm like, you're correct, good.
What's her nickname? Kiyoyo?
Yeah, I think, which also, those I believe are actually translated. Like, she has names for people. I believe in a lot of her voice lines in, like, as a summonable character. Like, her Ma-chan is preserved. Ellie is preserved. She calls Tamamo just Tama. Kiyo is Kiyoyo.
Remember, Osakabahime is Kiyo's and Tamamo's pen pal.
Yeah, she's email friends with them, which is another thing that, like, if you thought she was a great person, you're wrong. She hangs out with Kiyohi and Tama.
Yeah, just put that into perspective, all right?
Yes, just think about that. They hang out and chat, and are apparently mean girls to each other. Because we've talked about the whole reason why Osakabahime is a bat, beside it being yet another pun, because hikomori and komori is the word for bat. It's a double pun. But anyway, yeah, so, it's a thing.
It's a thing.
But yes, I've noted that people are honestly more uncomfortable with how forward she is, rather than her, at least in our community, than her jokey dialogue. They're like, it's a little weird. But I think that is just it. She's just a horny shut-in, which I bet most shut-ins are horny. I don't know. Like, okay, I'll admit, I had some thoughts that I'm like, man, Halloween's a little horny on Maine this year. When Liz gets captured and she's like, gasp, am I about to lose my chastity? I'm like, even Hime is like, Liz, what? Like, Ellie,
calm
what?
down, girl.
I'm like, okay, guys, take a step back, roll it back. But, yeah, no, so that's just our thoughts about the subject of her dialogue. We're not, like, offended or anything. We still like her character a lot. Lucky even said he thinks he likes her better now. So, like, I'm still, throwing tickets at that banner when I get them. So,
I said, I'm going to be doing rolling tomorrow. Like,
honestly, I appreciate, at least in that aspect, her forwardness. Like, a lot of servants and a lot of these games can, like, dance around the love and stuff, but Hime's personality is just like, dude, my chest is right here. You aren't reacting at all. Because I'm sure that she watches a lot of anime or reads a lot of doujins, and, like, what you're supposed to do, in Japan anyway, would be, like, freak out and die or something. And then apologize.
I don't know. I think she's trying to get an angle on you so she can get special merch from you somehow.
That is one of her bond lines. Buy me something nice, I'll give you service, which I believe in Japanese would be,
Sabisu.
The English word, sabisu. She still tells you to delete her hard drive when she dies, and then says collapse. That is still true in both versions. So, I don't know. Like I said, I think her dialogue was already really, really goofy and weird. I just think that for the sake of the event text, it's either been translated more plainly, or like I said, if they spiced it up, it's because it was a little too plainly spoken to get the whole subtle implications across to the audience.
Either way, it's fine.
Yeah, and actually, here's the third point. I'll commit a sacrilege here. If Osaka Hime's dialogue was really so normal in the Halloween event, I think that's bad writing. She's not the straight man in this event.
Oh yeah, you did
Like-
make that point earlier.
She and Liz are like bonding because they're so similar. Liz is a fucking lunatic. Well, one, in certain iterations, she's literally mentally ill. But no, Liz is nuts, guys. She's complete bugfuck crazy.
It's kind of why these Halloween events are a thing.
Yeah, she's like I said, she's completely like out of eye in the sky kind of shit. Like, I'm gonna become an idol. I'm like, girl, you are Elizabeth Bathory, and you are also a dragon. What are you doing?
Carmilla likes to harp on this point.
Yes, Carmilla is like, kid, what the fuck? Camilla's been great in this event because she is the straight man. She's just like, guys, the fuck. Nani the fuck.
Real talk though. Don't think I didn't miss Camilla being dairy to you though.
Yeah.
She's all like, stop relying on the fucking master. This is hard for him. And master, you take care, okay? And I'm like, thanks, Carmilla.
Yeah. Or Cleo wants to turn her pyramid into a gym, a fitness center.
For a certain red
The
saber.
fucking nicknames to hide the EOR servants is great too. Wu is Nightbright because she's assassin of Nightless City, so she's Nightbright. Which God knows what that was in Japanese because it probably wasn't Nightbright
I don't
because
know,
that's a
but-
thing.
No, what was Moriarty's nickname? As you scream it to the heavens.
Coffin Archer.
That's what I yelled, yeah. Or
Also-
Mustache Twizzler!
Hey kids, don't download shady manuals from shady gentlemen on the internet.
Young King is Sashishin.
Sashi
Also-
Shizuku, which I appreciate.
By the way, again, talking about liking characters more, like seeing-
yes, his characterization is so much better in this.
yeah. You see he's kind of a trickster, but he's but still he's kind of serious when it counts.
He's a little
And,
bit of a prankster, but he'll do the effort, and he'll carry you on his back the whole way up if you don't want to ride on Osaka Hime's crane. Also, this is another thing I'll say, like, about Osaka Hime. Yes, she's still a dork, but I still respect her. She's got skills.
oh yeah.
She built a robot, multiple robots from parts on Amazon. And she's really good at origami, which I am not.
I can make a crane.
I don't think I remember how to make a crane. I've got some instructions somewhere. I've got some old ass, like, public
I can make-
elementary school stuff about some of the basics, but I don't remember how.
I think I can make a box if I try really hard.
I mean, I know how to make a set so you can fold a cube out of paper, but that's not really origami. That's just, cut some squares and fold them. Make paper dice. Anyway. But yeah, so, like, that's the other thing I wanted to point out is, like, in the event, she's portrayed as, like, awkward and lazy, but not incompetent, really. Like, there's some jokes about how could just solve things simpler by not being so lazy.
Mhm.
But she did build an entire master plan, with multiple giant robots, one of which is huge.
Isn't that something that Bill Gates said? If you want to get a job done quickly, give it to a lazy person. Because
Probably
they'll
that
find
would
the
make
most
sense.
Because you basically they'll find the most efficient way to get it done, so they don't have to fucking do it anymore.
Right. That would make sense. That really seems like Hime's character. Like, she came up with a crazy solution to just get out of her problems. But yeah, so let's talk about more of the event, because that's obviously a very quick buy-in problem, because she starts off with that dialogue, like, immediately.
So
Like-
let's start off the...
The fucking intros.
The fishing intro. Okay, so you basically start off, like, MASH is telling you it's that time of game, you're not saying anything. And me, I'm thinking I'm just trying to escape from reality, but no, apparently it is now canon. The master has learned high-level ninja techniques, because he uses a fucking CE decoy to
Be
run
elegant,
the fuck
by
away.
the way.
Be elegant.
Just... And you're like, a crafted decoy. Katara must have told that. Also, they commented about the fact that he's Evil Wind Kotaro. They're like, that's how they insisted they translate his surname. Which,
Yeah.
I don't know. That could be a subtle dig from English about JP making them translate things certain ways. Who knows?
Who knows?
Because I think they laid it on a little thick in Shinjuku when they were talking about Artorias and Altria. Because that was a dialogue line in Shinjuku, so I bet Albert and team was just like, well, guys, you've kind of boned me on this, so I'm not gonna hold any punches. You've goofed this up a little. But yeah, so you escape, and you run into Sashi Shin.
Yeah, it's like, what you doing? This seems fun. I'm all like, I like your attitude already.
After literally everyone has told you to fuck off.
Yeah.
Emiya, Hector, some others, they're like, no, dude, we're busy.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Scheherazade. I'm not here. Emiya, I've got to cook.
Hector,
oh, no, I'm installing a new oven.
Yep. Well, but here's the thing.
Hector is like, Emiya. Oh, my back. My old man back.
And Yankee's like, this seems fun, I'll go with you. And then, you get to Da Vinci, it's all like, come on, you're gonna make Liz cry, and you're like,
yeah, basically their response is, well, MASH gets you with, come on, Master, you gotta do it. Liz is gonna be sad if we don't go. I know it's terrible, but you must sacrifice this year since I can't go with you. And you're just like, alright, I'll go. Come along.
Well, actually, it's not just that. It's like, then they detected that there's a actual problem in the singularity, and they do the flashback of Liz going puppy, and you're just all like, God damn it.
Or Gillet if you played Girl MC.
Yeah. But
and they play back all the times, you've had fun with Liz, and you're just like, all right, we'll go save Liz.
And is this one of those moments that makes you actually, I think that perfectly encapsulates my feeling towards Liz? It's like, I find her super annoying, but at the same time, I can't leave her alone.
No, you can't. She's a problem child. You can't just leave her alone. That's not good.
No, that's all like, God damn it. So, God damn it.
Also, other than her concert, I don't know, she was getting her castle set up for, like, trick-or-treating and stuff.
She was actually, like...
She was trying this year.
Yeah.
Also interesting, she's turned back into Vanilla Liz.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for her Brave or Caster selves, but they weren't there.
I don't know, maybe she just powered up into a Super Liz. I don't know. She's now 3 Liz's in 1.
But yeah, so we meet her and Hime. They're being attacked by Mecha Ellie-chan, who has arisen. Osakabe Hime tells you a very bullshit story about how her castle got there, which everyone is like, I feel like you're leaving something out here.
And then Liz tries to tell her story, and we're just like,
I don't know if I believe you. Some of those details seem wrong, even though I wasn't there. But yeah, basically you're like, that's fine, we came all this way anyway, we gotta fix the thing. And then you're like, oh fuck, we have to climb the castle.
And then the opening credits! God, I love these opening credits so much.
Yeah, and then there's also the intro slide for each mission. Which looks like a really cheesy... The whole thing is a lot of B sci-fi movie references. Like, it's a really cheesy, like, old B sci-fi slide-in intro. That somebody, like, rotoscoped onto the fucking opening titles. Arguably, even Hime, like, betraying you halfway through is like a cheesy sci-fi. I was like, oh, I need you good guys to get my thing back so I can do the thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Sorry.
You have to... Mecha Liz recognizes you, Mecha Ellie Mark 1, I should say, recognizes you as the pilot. One of the quests is called Elizabeth Rim.
I was like, I'm done.
And I love the transition at the end of that when you, like, look outside and it slowly pans up and there's giant Mecha Liz's fucking face. Oh, it's so good. Like, we think the dialogue writing is great, guys. I'm sorry. The event's really good. So there's so many old jokes in here and just weird, goofy stuff. Yan King is like, I was really expecting Ozzy to be in here and Upside Down.
Oh yeah, when you get to the Upside Down Pyramid, Yan King's all like, I don't know why, but I was expecting the Laughing King to be here, be like, you fool, you think I couldn't sit in my throne just because it's upside down? I was all like, yeah, no, I could have seen that.
So now we're currently we're in the break where we've completed all the story missions. We got kicked out of the castle. Regular Liz has been kidnapped. And God knows what's going to happen in Hime's dungeon. I'm expecting it's going to be cosplay, though.
As of recording, we have about, I think, an hour before the next story unlocks.
Yeah, so we won't be able to talk about that yet, but we'll get into it. Other than that, I think I'm at like 15 missions done.
I'm at like 23, I want to say.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to go back and complete Shimosa.
Yeah, I did.
You were already done. But yeah, we've been talking this for about 30 minutes, so I don't know. I mean, it's funny. There's double mecha action, double mecha fun.
I really like the event, people.
No,
like,
the Halloween... honestly, a lot of the comedic events are really good, but the Halloween events in particular seem to be on point with their references.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Like, as I said...
This event is good, and it's not too complex. It's a mission event. It's pretty fun to work through the stuff.
As I said, yeah, it's a lot of farming, but, all the farming will pay off in sweet rewards.
Other than I think there's no bonus event Archer. I don't think there is, or is it Rider? There's a couple of classes that are missing.
I don't think there's a Rider or an Archer.
Yeah, like I said, other than a couple of classes missing from the bonus lineup, which they probably could have done. Like, they could have squeaked in, like, Robin Hood again or something.
There's a lot of assassins, though.
There's a fuck ton of assassins. Luckily, there are a boatload of Rider mobs and bosses.
Mm-hmm.
But still, yes. In general, once again, the bonus servants are a little lopsided, but they are self-referential also, so it kind of makes sense. This may be why they decided to end the trilogy and move to events like Oniland next and whatever JP is about to do, which are hopefully more original and less connected to other stories, so you can just cram whoever in there and, even out the servant balance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're going to keep going forward on that. The mission setup so far has been pretty easy. I've already gotten one CE drop. It was the 3-star, but I got a CE drop. Not that I need it
yet,
because you can get them all through the mission ladder or through the store. I haven't been able to buy anything quite yet out of the store, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, again, if there's one complaint I always have about these events is, goddamn, this currency. Goddamn.
I mean, I had like 200 gummy drills. The event's only been going for like 2 days, and I took a huge break. So I don't think it's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
But also, neither of us have very seriously rolled on the banner or anything yet. So it always gets a little bit better with the CEs. Gotta love those CEs. Anyway, so like I said, we've been talking about this for like 30 minutes. So let's roll back to Shimosa. This is the big finale of Shimosa. We're going to talk about everything because I'm done.
Yeah.
Alright, so we mostly outlined everything up to the first real boss.
Mm-hmm.
Lancer of Purgatorio. So we can kind of like cover everything in broad scope. So me personally, the only boss I really had trouble with was the double round. The 2 hells. Because I had to do a revive on that because basically I threw everything I had. I killed Shuten, and then it was like, well, Raiko's still here, and I've lost all my hard defenses, and it still came down to 1 angry mom versus 1 saint. But I managed to pull it out at the end because it's really rough fighting 2 of them at once, especially when you got to watch out for Shuten's NP down,
or just charm all. Just here you go.
Yeah, her debuff... Shuten's the one who sucks the most in that round. Making Raiko a rider really cripples her.
It really does.
Like, occasionally she would drop her evade mana burst, but I was using assassins and sure hit Cs, so it wasn't a problem. I prepped beforehand. But, let's see. That one was pretty okay. Tomoe just threw, like, damage, chewed through a lot of my lines, but I had enough big money Lancers. I accidentally spent a single command seal to fully heal Lancer Alter because I wasn't sure how Guts would work with NPs. I forgot how that plays out. I was thinking it was like a break bar, not like how Guts works. So I accidentally healed her to full to survive another turn I didn't need to. But other than that, that was pretty easy. I have enough Lancers to throw at stuff. Let's see. So that was Inferno. Oh, everybody said Paraiso would be pretty tough, so I packed appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
I brought Jean to debuff clear. I brought all my combative casters I could. Kazgil, Medea doing some work. It was a bit of a slog, and I think I ended up down to just mashing Jean again, but it worked. Worked out okay. That wasn't too hard. I think my real problem was just that I ended up with a full front line of attackers and no defenders, and she got to drop an NP on me, which is always a little rough. NP damage for NPCs is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's ridiculous for regular servants too. It's just they don't have shitloads of HP.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Paraiso. Then there's the 2 hells. Limbo Ghost isn't a trouble at all. I had Ketz and Surfer Mordred deal with him. I was like, hey, Limbo, surf's up, bitch. Sploosh. That worked pretty well. Surfer Mordred is great. You can just keep firing off. And honestly, while he was a little tricky with his buff removal, I didn't have too much problems with
Sitting?
Yeah, with Sitting Man, with Imperio, because I brought Waver, and I brought Urale, so Waver, it was just, Urale just kept shooting off, like, half his bars at a time. I brought Kuro for sure hit, and she managed to, punch it through a couple times, and Waver just tried to stall him out. It did end with a solo on Musashi, and I had to spend did I have to spend a seal? I might have had to spend a seal to get her NP to charge right away, so she could drop him with one big hit, but it was mostly okay. Like, the removing your buffs there was really annoying. More annoying was when he got 100% resistance to normal damage in his last stage. Like, I could have cleaned him up easy if he wasn't tanking hits. But when your lineup is a slowly dying Waver, Ishtar, and Musashi, it's a little hard to get NP off.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like, can I stall long enough for my skills to reset?
Yeah, you see, I kind of did the opposite. Is I kept Urale in the back line because I wanted to because he did do me a favor. Is he did knock out Musashi pretty quick.
His AI is probably focused on that.
Yeah, and so when Urale came in, it was just like, all right, well, let me just smack you down. Oh, your break bar is down. Well, let's just Waver charge. Let's throw one fucking Fox Wedding on you.
Yeah, you have an advantage that you actually own a Tamamo.
Yeah.
I wish I did for the art steroid, but I don't. So I make do with what
I literally one-shotted him after his break bar.
Yeah,
no,
down,
you could.
So. Listen, kids, Urale does fuck tons of damage. You give her some art steroid, she'll blow a male saber up. He will just be gone.
Yeah.
And then we get to Amakusa. Oh, you poor motherfucker! You shouldn't have switched your class. Not that would have worked because I would have brought Jolter, but let me tell you, double BB Waver.
Double Beaver.
Yeah. So that's what that combo is. But he got crushed. There was no contest. It took me like 11 turns. He didn't NP once because it was just constantly dropping CCCs on him, which team NP charges. Oh, hey, Waver's ready to stall again. Boom. Oh, I've got 2 stuns on BB. Oh, no. BB's great. She's a great unit. I admit that it's sad that she's kind of rare, and it is a bit of a pain in the ass for newer players because CCC is a little bit of a harder event. You have to beat Solomon to participate, I think. But she's just a great unit. Fuck Avengers, just get dunked on. Yeah. So that was no problem at all. And then I didn't have any problems with the solo duel at the end. So overall, I can see the difficulty. I like that it's a challenge. I do think that this is unfortunate that it really rewards people for having certain servants, and then basically punishes you for not, because, man, there would have been a couple times when I really would have loved to have my own Tamamo, but I can't bring her because I'm forced into using Musashi. I do also agree with people, especially on those earlier duels, not putting in Musashi's third skill sooner sucks, because that's her invul debuff clear. That would be great to have to make her more useful, especially against all these debuffing servants, because by the time you get it, I think that's in your fight with Sitting. Yeah, it's after you beat Limbo she gets it, because she loses the eye. So that's because that's the thing. Sitting Man doesn't debuff you. He just strips your buffs. He doesn't do any funny gimmick. He can give you attack down, but that's not his main gimmick as a boss. His main gimmick is he shears away your buffs so you do less damage and have less defenses, and he eventually hard tanks, just face tanks everything. So I think that if I were going to design it again, I would have made it so she either starts with her third skill or gets it sooner so she can actually matter in some of these fights. But otherwise, it was pretty stable. The story-wise, I love Shimosa a lot, but I've said this, I'm a sword nerd. That's literally my title on Discord right now. That's my role, sword nerd. So yeah, I'm eh. I know some people were I didn't like it as much. I'm no, I loved it, dude, because it's all about me.
My overall thought is it's a bit of Musashi dick sucking, but at the same time, that's kind of the fucking point.
Right, she is Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsmaster of Japan. Yes, they do stroke her ego a lot. Now, some of that I think is because Limbo wanted to turn her into a swordmaster. Which, by the way, great that you got to use. There are multiple references to your mystic codes in the actual story that you use. That was great. So I don't know if that was supposed to be part of the impression of that or not. But yes, there is a lot of ego stroking on Musashi, but she is she's representing the most famous Swordmaster character in Japan. So it's like I think that's expected. I know some people were like, oh man, they really played up Sasuke Kojiro at the end, because you're thinking of him as like a 1-star servant. And in FSN, he is kind of deliberately saying that he's kind of a fake, but he appears with a slightly different sprite in Shimosa because it's a parallel world. He is a different Sasuke Kojiro who is here to challenge Musashi, and that is the thing. They are fated rivals. It is one of the most famous duels, so of course it was cool.
Yeah. Well, like, I was thinking about this in comparison to, like, Septim, which, had the infamous, Nero dick sucking. Shimosa, Musashi, like, there's a lot of actual, character arc and development within it. So
and also,
it's like,
a lot of internal monologue. Not necessarily it is internal for Old Man Musashi, but Musashi talks about stuff a lot. She starts every chapter staring at the sky, thinking about things.
Like, talking with a child, or... other things, like going through her thought processes, so you can kind of get understand what's going inside her head. And Septim, you didn't have any of that. It was just Nero's like, I'm so great, let's go to this next place.
Oh no, we must fight golems. Gasp. I'm still cool. Why am I here even though I'm real? Because they kind of play up a little bit, not only did Musashi have her mystic eye, right, and she's really, really skilled, but also they kind of play up that at the end, oh, she's a world traveler, that's why she's not normal anymore. So, that explains why she was able to, do these fights. That, and she had the katana. So, are we going to talk about that scene now?
Yeah. Okay,
oh, man, I love Muramasa so much.
I keep telling people I need Muramasa serving just because I want to hear Shiro talking in an old man voice.
Or, also, Lucky, let me throw you an alternative. Dear UFO Table, please, a Shimosa movie.
Ooh.
There's some fucking sword fights. They could do some things. Maybe make it like a K&K type production where it's slightly below film length, like Heaven's Feel. Compact. You could probably cover the whole OVA in that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be UFO Table, because if we're going to talk about, Babylonia, they're doing...
That's true. A1's pulling out all the stops, but yeah. I just feel because UFO Table has interacted with Emi Shiro before, it's fair to them that they get to do Muramasa and do the scene. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I love. I love how that whole build-up is. The castle is the whole thing, which I actually mentioned this to Lucky, and if you missed that, the castle name is a pun.
Yeah.
It's Onriedo Castle, or Onri Edo Castle. Mm-hmm. So he's connecting it to the castle in Edo to kill the Tokugawa.
Yeah,
And we mentioned before how significant it was that Muramasa's swords killed a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and Muramasa finally understands why he was summoned.
Right, why did the Counterforce summon him? Because that was what he was. He was summoned by the Counterforce to be here. So, evil Amakusa Shiro, who's from a parallel timeline, which is a really easy explanation. He's not like the one he's from a parallel world.
Of course.
And he tries to drop his reality marble on you, just, the hell of Shimabara. It's it's dark, you can't see shit, there's fire, you're gonna die. And then and Muramasa's just you shouldn't have showed me all your cards, kid. And the game starts with just clank. And I'm oh yeah, it's here. And just, you hear the sound effects as he starts clanking out the sword. And then the theme starts. And actually, this reminds me, I should get my phone. I was going to do a little bit of reading on the air. So I screen cap this, so hold on. Lucky Vamp.
I'm just fucking farming in Halloween right now, thinking about that fucking theme, because the remix of Emiya, it's fucking amazing. God.
Alright. Yeah, so, the music starts up, and he starts a variation of what should be a familiar theme. Uncountable years of toil to reach this place, forging thousands of swords to create a barrow of blades. Many paths converge here, Enduring desires flow here. Unjust deaths gather here. My whole life has been for this single swing. The heart of the blade is here, except this blow from my Tsumukari Muramasa. And then he does the swing. That's his version of the Unlimited Blade Works chant.
Yeah.
I like that he describes his philosophy. He's like, I'm not seeking a sword that cuts flesh or bone or steel. I want a blade that will sever enmity to destroy certainty, bonds, karma. That is a sword to cut one's own fate. And I'm just like, this is why this guy's bonded with Shiro. And then he does the thing, and he cuts the reality marble, he cuts the castle, and he cuts the sorcerer in twain, and it's on fire. And even, Amakusa's shocked, but he's like, you mean, because Tsumukari is another, I believe it's another way of saying, the Ame no Murakumo, or the Kusanagi, the sword that was retrieved from the tail of Yamato no Orochi, which is a big deal treasure of Japan.
Yep, it's one of the 3 treasures, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Tamamo's got one of the other ones, the mirror.
I wonder who has the Magatama, then.
I don't know. I wonder if we'll see it sometime.
Yeah. But, and then he realizes, Shuten and fucking, Chiyome, because both of their legends can be traced back to, Orochi. So he's like, gasp!
And then he's like, you shouldn't have named your castle after Edo Castle. I'm Muramasa. My swords kill Tokugawa's. I will kill your castle. And he does it. Now, he immediately explodes afterward because he was like, I used a sword from the divine realm in a body that's not divine. Of course I'm gonna collapse afterward. But still, he got there. He got the final shot in. He kill stealed. But it's okay because Musashi gets to fight Sasuke Kojiro after. And then there's that scene, which is just pure sword nerdery. It's the zero sword, Niten Ichiryu versus, the infinite sword, Tsubame Gaishi. And just, it's really, really nerdy.
It really is. Because when they explain it like that, it's all like, oh, now I see why these swords were destined.
Yeah, there's a lot of, this is why I'm saying Nasu definitely consulted on this, because it's a Nasu-style expo gag, basically. It's a big exposition of a philosophy against each other, and then it's like, who will win, who will lose? They clash infinitely in this space where there is no good or evil, no time,
It's like the question of, what happens when an unstoppable object meets an unmovable force.
Yeah. It's, and it is because Musashi's style is expanded as cutting away an unlimited number of options that you cut away to find the single one that works, the Sword of Void. And then Tsubame Gaishi is an infinite number of blades coming from all possible angles that you cannot escape.
Mm-hmm.
And they clash, and theoretically they clash for eternity because, I feel like, especially with the comparison to, Saber Empryo style, because he uses the Iaijutsu cut, the Suigetsu, be like water. I assume the impression there is that theoretically this is all in, just the moment that they stand and metaphorically clash, then physically clash. And then it's over.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about a lot of sword tools. Sword tools aren't necessarily, especially back then, weren't these long affairs. Usually it was over in 1 or 2 strikes. But there's that whole, I guess, want to say pregame as they try to figure out
the stare down. Munenori talks about this. I discovered that moment where our minds meet and clash, and one of us lives and one of us dies is the greatest thing. Because he reveals that he's the last swordsmaster is a living man who has been turned to the forces of evil because he really wants to fight Musashi, of course.
Again.
Yes.
Because actually, I did the trial quest after I did Shimosa. Yeah. So, and I realized, it's the same fucking Munamori.
Yes, exactly. That was a plot hook planted way back at New Year's with her trial quest. Because, in case you forgot, or didn't do it like Lucky did at first, she is fighting a guy in the woods, and that's Munenori, and then she gets whisked away to your Onigashima. So they don't get to finish their fight. And apparently that set him on a path where he's like, I gotta be better at this because I want to fight Shinman Musashi again. Someday, somehow. And so he is an alive guy. Who got cursed.
Yep.
But yeah, so that, you know, there's that moment where everything meets, they achieve the void, they achieve nothingness, and then they clash, and you declare the winner.
Mm-hmm. As a point, it's like, you know, a battle that no one will see, no one but you, and you're just like, ooh.
Yeah, you're the only one who can observe, and you have to record it, and you declare Musashi the winner, of course.
Yeah. But also, I want to tell you right now, the setting was anime as fuck. You're literally in a fucking burning
the castle is burning down. You try to go down the stairs, and Satsuki steps in and is just like, not so fast. First, we must fight. And then
Musashi's like, sorry, I have to fucking do this.
And Musashi's like, normally I'd get you out of here, but I really want to fight this guy. Even if it's pointless, right? Even if there's nobody watching, I gotta fight him. And you're like, I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they have their duel. Musashi appears to be mortally wounded, even though you declare the winner. But Kojiro doesn't fight you on it, so I assume that somewhere in the clash of Zero versus Infinite, he thinks he lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fucks off.
Yep.
Musashi throws you out of the castle where Kotaro catches you. Oh, and good boy Kotaro.
Oh my god, Again, like, I like Kotaro from Onigashima, but I like that
this really digs into his backstory, which is great.
Yeah, I now love Ninja Mom.
Yes, they explain how he's like, is he the 4th or 5th? I don't remember the number.
It was one of the two, he wasn't the first.
Yeah, he's not the first Fumo Kotaro. He explains it's kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts. It's the alias of the leader of their clan.
Mm-hmm.
And he explains that he was trained and raised by Kato Danzo, a automaton created by a sorcerer in the first Fumo Kotaro, to be kind of like a ninja puppet robot. I don't know, Crystarlight. Musashi's like 5'5" or 5'6" or something. She's like actually a normal person height, and we're a scrawny Japanese teenager.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I don't know about that. But that's a different question. But yeah, so you know, Kotaro relates to you that as Limbo is fighting him, we'll talk about Limbo in a second, because he gets a whole fucking post-credit scene, basically.
Yeah,
well, not really post-credit, but he gets a moment after the climax in the denouement, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But he reveals when you're facing down Caster of Limbo, like, hey, BT Dubs, that puppet raised me. She was basically my mother, because I was raised and trained by her. And so, she is filled with magical energy from the original Fumo Kotaro, which has returned to me. I am now super badass and will kick everyone's ass. And he does. He even technically gets the final blow on Amakusa, because he uses the kunai obtained from, or is it on Limbo he gets the blow in? I think I think he uses the kunai twice, that's right. Kotaro technically gets the hit on both Limbo and Amakusa.
Yeah, they give you like a level 90 Fum. I'm like, god damn.
Yeah. And his NP is like 5 now. But yeah, he uses the kunai that Chiyome threw as a distraction to get back at those guys.
Yep. Karma, motherfuckers. I guess that's like kind of a theme.
Karma is definitely a watchword in this.
Yeah.
And like some people are a little confused. They're like, I don't really get the whole curse of karma, karma severed kind of thing.
Mm.
Like, I don't necessarily know which exactly school the Japanese subscribe to, but there's a couple different ways to interpret karma.
Mm-hmm.
In Buddhism, I believe all karma is bad, because all karma is something that ties you further and further to the world as opposed to achieving nirvana and, you know, escaping the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
In the original Hinduism, karma can be good or bad because that affects your next reincarnation. It's basically, you know, whether your soul has learned or not in this life.
Get enough good karma and you ascend to godhood. Oh yeah.
And I assume Nasu's going for something kind of in between the two because he's weird like that. Or whoever Nasu had write this under his supervision. Because like I said, I think some people have commented, like we talked about this, EORs don't have who their authors are listed. It can only be alluded to. But I assume because it is so important to the plot, like, supposedly Nasu couldn't write any of the EORs because he was busy prepping for part 2, but this directly leads into part 2, so I'm gonna assume he must have heavily consulted whoever actually wrote the script, or he wrote it himself and just pretends like he didn't. So, I don't know which it actually is, but, you know. So karma, I think, is like, it's what's tying them to this reality and weighing their souls down so they can't move on kind of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I am kind of a little sad that we didn't get to bring, Vanilla, Amakusa with us. Because, as I said, they smack the Shimabara Rebellion drum a lot, and with it coming up as, it's Amakusa at the end, it would have been nice to see the perspective of Amakusa, who basically made peace with what he did.
Yeah, yes and no. I think here is a problem that is with FGO. FGO assumes you've seen most of this stuff, so you should have already watched Apocrypha and know what he's about.
Yeah.
Or you have met him in the story already as a character, so you know what's up with him, so yeah.
Yeah.
And Kotaro alludes to it. He's like, the Chaldean Amakusa is nothing like you.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing,
Yeah, so, like, I don't know, this is kind of, like, wishful thinking on my part, because, as I said, like, because, like, here's the thing, like, we haven't really got a lot, like, a super lot of Amakusa in FGO, because we got him during Christmas, where he was, kind of playing the half-villain, but, like, other than that, I don't think really Amakusa...
Yes, he has played a couple of heel roles, like, arguably even in his, trial quest, because he's trying to get the Grail.
Yeah.
But, yes, he is not necessarily super...
Yeah, so I would like to see him, because again, like, that's one of those things, it's like, a lot of the villains that we see, and like over here, FGO can give a different side, and you can come to like them a lot better, like...
Yeah, this is almost that, but in contrast, because it's like, here's what Amakusa would be like if he was really an asshole.
You're just
you're just like, this is not my, hashtag not my Amakusa.
But, talking, like, Cursed Arm, Wayne, Tristan...
Yeah, you get a lot of growth for these characters. I don't know, maybe in a future thing.
Yeah,
it also could just be that Japanese history, there's stuff they don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
that's the thing, people are like, people point out that Nasu seems to have painted over Nero's supposed persecution of Christianity, because to the Japanese, that's like, who hasn't persecuted the Christianity? Dr. Zoidberg. What's a little destroying the Christians among friends, We hear it. We here at Studio Omega do not approve of suppression of religion. But I'm just saying, like, it's a history thing. I don't know if the Japanese see that as a big deal, like we do in the West, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the Nazi versus relationship with religion in a little bit.
Teehee. All right.
But yeah, so we covered, I think, most of the bosses, most of the story beats. As much as I think Shimosa is my favorite so far, like, I'd even beat out Shinjuku, because Shinjuku did have a little bit of make work. Like, this is the thing I'll say about Shimosa. I don't really feel like it has make work. Like, even when you're fighting waves and waves of enemies, there's a point. You are in story fighting waves and waves of enemies to get places.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little text heavy, though, and it feels like it slows down. Like, as much as I like the themes and characters of Shimosa, I think it flows a little slow at points. It can be hard to work through.
I think it slows down around the Assassins of Imperio and the Rider and Berserker points, and then, like, speeds right back up after that.
Yes, when you get to the climax and they're like, oh fuck, we're gonna just make you fight all the last, like, 4 bosses all at once. When those are all just the final canticle, that's okay. That's good. I like it. The others are a little slow. They're paced out a little slow. But let's talk about post-credits. So, Musashi probably dies in the fire and or collapse. She doesn't get to see that last blue sky. Or does she?
Did she, like, become a servant or something? I don't fucking know. She apparently keeps journeying worlds, but it's...
Well, yeah, so the implication that Dantes provides you with, thank you, passing missionary man, is that when Musashi disappeared from Shimosa, she just woke up outside Chaldea in the snow, probably. Poor Musashi. Well, she's a servant. She doesn't care. And now she is a servant assigned to Chaldea. But... unlike most servants, she's not staying because she's Musashi and she has to travel, so she immediately set out to find 21st century udon. Because her 2 regrets about Shimosa, she had only 2, she didn't get to eat lunch at Gramps, and she didn't get to try that fucking Shimosa udon. That's literally the only thing she has regrets about. Because honestly, the point of the Shimosa story is she's achieved her mastery. She is better than her dad, finally. She has perfected the style. There is nothing else for her as Musashi to do. So she dies in the castle and comes back as a servant, according to somebody at Chaldea. And then she immediately fucks off. We'll meet again. See you. Bye. Go to get udon.
Off to America. Well, no, she's already been to America at that point. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see when we get in 2 years when we get Summer 4 what that relationship is like. But yes, she bounces to go do something. She goes out for cigarettes. We'll see if she comes back. But that's one of the conclusions. Also, Sasaki Kojiro drifts to where the dying old man Musashi has been dreaming. And they have a thoughtful conversation about the nature of mastery and stuff. Musashi is okay meeting his end here because his son, Iori, has been entrusted with the style and is already well placed, so he's doing well for himself. There's nothing for him to do but meet his destiny, Sasaki Kojiro. And Kojiro shows up, and Musashi's like, "Alas, you are too late. I am too old. I cannot grip the swords." And they even point out that Musashi is a little young. He's only 60 when he's dying. I believe it's implied of tuberculosis, the consumption. But Sasaki Kojiro says, "No, indeed, we do not need to fight. I have just come from my legendary duel with Miyamoto Musashi. I have indeed seen how grand Niten Ichiryu is." And old man Musashi is like, good. I can die at peace now. He closes his eyes and he dies. And that's his character arc. The kind of dream within a dream thing. Also, they do actually explain the parallel worlds thing. As Holmes puts it, you are in a space between where dreams and reality lies. Like, this world isn't quite fake, but it's not quite real either. It's a parallel. It's not a classical singularity in the sense that it's a timeline which was altered externally. It's just a timeline that has flowed differently and should not matter to the normal timeline. But Amakusa is gonna crash Omri Castle into Chaldea or something, like a real 2-bit Gadia. Like that. I wish we could have thrown that in and like, dude, you are not Beast 1. Man, you do not have the balls to get away with this, dude. I punched that guy already. Literally, I punched him.
Like, here's the thing. Like, I kind of feel like I was actually thinking about this earlier, to tangent slightly. The Master has a lot of people who can train him to do a lot of crazy-ass shit. Like, just hanging around him.
Yeah, and also, you actually show that off a lot in this chapter. There's a lot of, because you are here without assistance other than the servants who came here, who existed here, and like Fumakotaro who shows up because of, like quantum links or whatever. You do a lot of stuff on your own. You carry people, you walk a lot.
Muramasa actually says, "Have you seen that guy's lower body?" It's like, "Yeah, I walked across America," and you're like,
that's in both genders, by the way.
Yeah.
Though you could take that as a little sassy when he says that about Girl Master's lower body. Are you talking about thick thighs, Muramasa? They save lives, kids. But like, there is a decent number of compliments that, like, you're not a fucking newbie at this. You've been doing this for, like, 2 years. And you do nothing but exercise.
Yeah.
You walk everywhere. Or run, or climb. You actually, like I said, use your mystic codes a couple of times. Like, they showcase your sorcery. Apparently, you've healed injuries before with your healing mage craft. That's, like, Musashi comments on the fact that her eye can't be healed because it was, like, cursed damage. So, like, you are competent. You do stuff. Which is a great point to raise. Like, this is a very personal conflict for you. But yeah, I think it is a little weird how at the end they're like, oh, but also it's not just that, like, it's not like Shinjuku where just you are gonna get murdered. No, he's actually gonna do a time crash and destroy all of reality. And you're like, God damn it. Oh, I guess the stakes are even higher. It's not like having to save the princess and storm the castle was enough for me, but also he's gonna fuck up reality. I don't know. Maybe they needed to sell how much of a problem Lost Belts are.
Yeah, I guess that's the point we're gonna get into now.
Because, hey, guess what? First of all, Caster of Limbo's not dead. Not both times.
Alright, here's the weird thing. Here's the weird thing for me, okay? Like, about Caster of Limbo. I forgot to mention this. He introduces himself as Abe no Senmei.
Yes, he lies.
He lies, and then, but, like, it doesn't get clarified that he's not until post-scene exposition.
Right, where the text literally tells you he was not Abe no Senmei, but Ashiya Doman, his eternal rival instead.
So I'm like, alright, so when he shows up later, am I gonna still think he's Abe no Senmei? Because I know he's not. I'm confused.
I don't know, we'll see. He is a title character in Lost Belt, so he has come back in a couple chapters already, so we'll see how they handle that. The characters don't seem to think he's actually Abe no Senmei. He seems to lack certain qualities of the actual historical one. Yeah. They name drop him a couple of times in this chapter, actually. Like, I personally think Tamo's probably a little bit biased about him. I'm expecting that if Abe no Seimei appears, and he probably should, if Domon's gonna appear, you gotta go whole hog.
Mhm.
I expect though because he's often thought of as the Japanese Merlin, he's gonna be a bit like that. Like, he's probably gonna be fundamentally a good supportive person at heart, but he's gonna be an oddball.
Well, yeah.
Because, like, what was the dialogue? I think they describe him as a bit eccentric, but ultimately good-hearted at some point.
Mhm.
And so they're like the other characters who are like, well, you're certainly powerful, Mr. Caster of Limbo, but you don't really seem like the Abe no Seimei. But yeah, he reveals he's Ashia Doman at the end. He also reveals he made it all up. Lord Satan was not actually Lucifer the whole time. It was a joke. Which is probably why the heroic spirit swordmasters were so inconsistently named. It was literally a goof. He was just fucking with Lord Sorcerer and with you. Because he's a fuckboy. But yeah, he reveals that quote-unquote Lord Satan is not actually Satan. But it is some kind of evil entity that had all its brethren slain. Because Amakusa met it, and thus were similar. But its name is censored because it is too terrible to utter. So it's probably some kind of, I don't know, alien god thing that's going to destroy the Earth or something. Is concerned about fucking with time and space. I don't know. Well, yeah, at least there's no point in sugarcoating it. He drops a term here. Like, Doman says that he went to all this trouble of finding a missing belt, which that's not an incorrect translation. In the original Japanese, it was Japanese words that were something like missing belt. I believe that probably to avoid spoilers, or they hadn't finalized it, but eventually that turned into the English term Losto Belto. It's said in Japanese as Cosmos in the Lost Belt, as in English words.
Yeah.
So, yes, I assume they were either keeping that closer to their chest, or they hadn't decided what they were officially calling it yet.
Yeah, well, maybe Lost Belt is when they actually play them, because, like, they basically explain the missing belt as basically a timeline that, like, if I remember this correctly, a timeline that should have got pruned but didn't.
Yes.
And kind of just exists in a void.
Right. It's a timeline that can't have any past or future because it's not correct. So it's kind of like a singularity, but it's not artificial. Like, nobody made it. It's just a history that wouldn't have panned out and should have been pruned but wasn't.
Yeah. This goes back to the whole...
Also, they dropped the spoiler that Musashi's home timeline has definitely been pruned.
Yeah.
That's why she's wandering around from world to world. She has no home to go to.
Yep.
But yeah, so this sets up a lot of big plot points for Lost Belt. This is basically the true Lost Belt prologue. This has nothing to do with EOR. There's no demon pillars, there's no Gaitia, there's none of that. There's no baggage from part 1. It's all just... Other than, I guess, the circumstances are similar to Prison Tower.
Circumstances of Prison Tower, and I can say, like, the circumstances are also similar to Shinjuku, where the antagonist is literally trying to crash normal time and space.
Yes,
well, actually, now that I think about it, all three of these plots are literally the same. Shinjuku is trying to drop a meteorite, Agartha is trying to drop a fucking asteroid, and Shimousa is trying to drop a castle.
Yeah, but they have different scopes, like...
Yeah, they have different scopes, but at the same time...
It's true that all of them would result in terrible things happening. Like,
antagonists really like dropping big things onto fucking Chaldea.
Shinjuku would have killed you. Like, Chaldea would have been fine. It was all just a personal plot to destroy you, because...
that's right.
The Shinjuku singularity was so meaningless that it didn't matter. If the Earth gets destroyed, it would just be pruned. Agartha is, we will destroy mystery, which could theoretically have implications for the whole timeline. And then, Shimosa is, I'm gonna fuck up this timeline, and then I'm gonna go to your timeline and crash it too, because I want to destroy proper human history. I wonder if that is significant. And then, I'm not gonna spoil, Salem, but I will say it goes back more towards the themes of the other Epic of Remnants, where there is Demon Pillar leftovers involved in weird plots. But I won't give away what the plot is, because I think it's gonna be interesting, because we've talked about, like, how different chapters have different themes. Epic of Remnants especially have different genres, basically. Like, Shinjuku is, like, urban fantasy with a splash of mystery. It's a caper, or a reverse caper. You're trying to figure out, what's the evil plan here? What's going on? Oh shit, the evil plan is to kill me. And then Agartha is it's about stories inside stories and destroying stories, basically, like, peeling the layers back. So it's framed as like a classic mythical adventure story, and then it's just like, oh wait, this really sucks. All this stuff sucks. It's gonna suck worse though if you crash that city into a thing.
Don't do it.
And then Shimosa is a martial arts movie. Like it is all about the philosophy of swords and stuff. Like how the philosophy of violence connects with spirituality.
Did you guys get sword boners? I got a sword boner.
I did when that fucking Emiya theme comes out. I gotta check My Room Jukebox to see if that's unlockable.
I don't think we have the EOR.
Yeah, hopefully they backpatched that, because there are some good EOR tracks in there.
Oh yeah,
like the new version of Grand Battle, stuff like that. I think Lucky may have ghosted there. It sounded like he cut out really weird.
No, I'm here.
Okay, that was just regular Discord interference. Okay.
Yeah.
Salem
honestly,
also plays with like stories and reality and fiction, but it plays with it in a creepy Lovecraftian way. Get ready for some spookums.
I gotta have to ask now, does Salem go back to being Epic of Remnants, or are we continuing
Yes,
this?
that's an Epic
prologue?
of Remnant.
Okay.
We're gonna do a pregame on it, so spoilers, there's gonna be a demon pillar at some point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said that earlier, but it might have gotten cut off.
Right.
And then there will be a proper prologue to Cosmos and the Lost Belt at the end of this year, like between Christmas Day and New Year's. Basically, there'll be some shenanigans where some stuff happens. But yeah, so that's most overall in Shimosa. Like, I think we got all our thoughts about difficulty, about characters and stuff.
Oh, one thing I did want to mention. Yeah. It did kind of drag on, but I did like the Shuten and Raiko segment for just the interesting scenes it provided. You know, particularly like you fall off a fucking cliff, Shuten saves you, and it's all like, let me just mangle your insides here for a bit and fix you up.
I'm just gonna poke your magic circuits. Hope that's okay. Don't scream now.
Oh, you totally scream.
Yeah, you do. It sucks. She's in your guts.
Yeah.
But Raiko, let's go. Let's Onoi and Tasuke go.
Because, she's still Mama Raiko.
Right. She's still... It's because Onoi says she's like her mama, and she's just like, oh, fuck, kid, why did you have to make that comparison? I gotta let you go now. But, like, and I think it plays with, like, how absolute all this stuff isn't, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which culminates, I think, in you completely blowing Caster of Limbo out of the wall with Reign of Isis.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what? What? And then he gets stabbed. But it doesn't work. Motherfucker. He's resilient. He's a resilient boy.
Well, yeah, someone with that much creep face.
Oh, he's got a lot of creep face. This is Paco doing his work.
Ugh.
He has the anime wiggly face, you know. You're like, it's not possible for your face to be that fluid.
But
how is your eyebrow making an S shape? I don't know.
But like, honestly, like I said, I really like Shimosa. I probably wouldn't say that it's probably my favorite, but I think I'm probably Shinjuku, Shimosa, Agartha. They all get thumbs up for me, but if I had to put them in an order, that's what it'd be.
Yeah, like, I think we've talked about this. Agartha, we don't think it's the worstest, but it's definitely a little bit of it, especially compared to Shinjuku and Shimosa so far. It's a little bit of an underperformer.
Yeah.
Like, I think Shimosa probably could have shaved some time in some of the dialogue segments. Not the character interactions, because that was actually really good where they built up all the bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was good. We actually got a lot of detail about these characters, which is important. We've talked about how crappy some characters get a characterization as antagonists before. But I think Agartha needed to be a little bit longer. Like, it needed to not culminate in just Scheherazade explains the story to you at the end. Which, while that is on theme, that's also a little bit like, well, if you're just going to tell me everything, right? It's just, I'm going to explain the whole story to you. What is subtlety and illusion? But yeah, so that's all of Shimosa. So I think we'll take a quick intermission because we've been going for an hour and a half. Well, actually, I'll say this. No, our Friday's the first. We should definitely do Teach Me Omega-sensei. So we'll do all of it. But we'll take a quick break so I can get up and walk around because we've been doing this an hour and a half. I told you, dog, we had a lot to talk about. All right, we're back from our intermission. For you, it was nothing, but for us, it's been 10,000 years. No, not really. But I am a robot skeleton. But hey, we're going to do Teach Me Omega-sensei, because it's technically the last show of the month. Our next show will drop November 1st. So make sure to watch this one a lot so our income for this month goes up. Anyway, it's actually a perfect opportunity because, hey, guess who decides to Teach Me Omega-sensei? Our patrons. If you are a 5 and up patron, you can vote on the Teach Me Omega-sensei result. We're down to 2 again, so, we're also taking suggestions. Those can come from anybody, so if you've got any suggestions, come in the comments. But today we're going to be talking about what is the Holy Church, which it's mentioned a lot in Natsuo Works' background. It's probably more important in Tsukihime, though there is some very important architecture in core Fate Stay Night. But there's just some stuff I think we should generally know, so we're going to explain it to you, the audience. Lucky, are you ready?
No, but here I am.
Fair enough. All right. Okay, kids, what is the Holy Church? The Holy Church is a secret branch of the Roman Catholic Church who specializes in hunting heresy and other supernatural problems.
Insert all your 40k memes right fucking now.
Yeah. I mean, I could theoretically just chop it off right there, but I won't, because there's more details. So this is in contrast to the public face of the church in the Natsuverse. They don't acknowledge a lot of the supernatural stuff. That's pretty typical. Vampires aren't real. What are you talking about? The Holy Church is largely composed of zealots who actively destroy heresy. They are not content enough to just do the normal thing, which is just ignore everything that's not covered in the book. And that's why they have a shaky relationship with the Mages Association, because they do magic and stuff. Heretical magics. What they hate most, though, is vampires, because the church is a solely human organization, and vampires come from humans and infect more humans, so they really like to destroy them. But also, they do have a whole vampire hunting division, which has to justify itself, so that could just be nonsense. That could just be propaganda to explain why we need to keep Department of Vampire Killing open. I should say that they're not opposed to working with non-humans, just those can be, controlled and managed. But vampires are ex-humans, and so they're super bad, maybe. Now, here's a fun thing. The Holy Church has its own thaumaturgy school. Basically, they have their own style of magecraft, the Holy Sacrament. This is used to create their black keys, which everybody should be familiar with, which are used to fight demons and vampires, and can be used to perform powerful exorcisms and purifications of spiritual entities. Like physical meat humans, not so great against. Ghosts, wraiths, even some types of servant, okay, because they're spiritual. You can despiritualify them. The Holy Church does have physical locations in monasteries. They're referred to as abbeys, where they house their staff. There's not a lot of extra detail, but it's noted that they have specific places where, they can go to hang out and keep their stuff. Now, like the Mages Association, though not nearly as many, they do also have these internal divisions. So they have internal departments who do different stuff. I think I'm getting a little loud again. Let me just put my mic down. I've moved it around because I sat back in my chair. So, like I said, they don't seem to have the same formal structure of there are exactly 12 departments. Here are them all. But they do have a few which are detailed. So first up, and probably the one that technically most of our audience will be familiar with, is the Assembly of the Eighth Sacrament. These are named after the 7 normal sacraments of the Catholic Church. That includes stuff like baptism, the Eucharist, stuff like that. They use the hidden Eighth Sacrament, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, about that philosophy. But the Assembly of the Eighth Sacrament is charged with holy relics. They study them, they recover them, they secure them, they authenticate them to see if they're real or not. And the reason why this might be most familiar to you, our audience, is that this is the group inside the Holy Church who are charged with overseeing the Holy Grail War. Because if the Holy Grail War involved a literal Holy Grail, the Church would want to know and want to take possession of it. However, this also means that they know the Fuyuki Grail isn't real. At least not in that sense, it's not literal. So, in general, they don't care much about the war, but because it's called the Holy Grail War, they insist on having a guy there so that they can, verify it's not the literal Holy Grail and let it pass. And also, they don't have a vested interest in the war other than that maybe somebody could have a bad wish that would fuck up the current world, so they have also sneakily sponsored some people. You see this in Fate Zero, where the church is working directly with Tosaka Tokiomi, because he just wants to reach the root like a normal mage, which affects this world not at all. But they would probably object to other wishes, which could be really long-reaching and fuck some shit up. Next, we have the Burial Agency. These guys are tasked with destroying vampires and other heretics. This is the whole vampire hunting division. So they'll take anyone with the physical power to do so. They don't require any particular level of faith or training. Just, hey, do you happen to have the preternatural ability to destroy demons and vampires? Cool, you're in. They don't really care about investigation, they don't do exorcisms, the only thing they care about is destroying the target. Obviously, these guys mostly come up in Tsukihime, so we're not going to go too deeply in them, but they exist. So, the church also has various chivalric orders, who are orders of knights who form the main military body of the church. They aren't seen so much so far, like, they're just a casual mention. There's a Melty Blood character whose, like, backstory is she was a knight of the chivalric order or something. But as a group, they aren't seen much, probably because they aren't the guys who are tasked with destroying demons and vampires and servants and shit. You know, why would they be super important? So next up, we have the broad group that is the Executors. They're pretty metal. And they are those that kill whoever or whatever they need to. They can specialize in demons, vampires, mages, etc., but they all are hardcore murder machines. They follow the Eighth Sacrament rule, so basically, they will allow all non-standard means that are not normally permitted to do their job, because they believe that so long as they are doing their work for God and for the world, they're okay. So they can use non-standard methods like magecraft and stuff to achieve their ends. And to do this, they undergo hellish training to develop all the combat skills and willpower they need. This is kind of different from the way the Burial Agency seems to work. They just take whatever schmuck's lying around who can destroy vampires. The Executors are like, no dude, you gotta get qualifications for this. There's a course. And everybody's favorite shitty priest, Kotomine Kire, became an executor at age 10, supposedly, though he moved around a lot in the church. He was not an executor all the time, but yes, he was a metal murder priest from a very early age. Who could have guessed?
Like, actually, do you know off the top of your head, because I remember in Fate Apocrypha, Amakusa was from the church. Was he actually part of the church, or was that just sort of some big cover so he can just unveil his big plan at the end?
Yeah, he's just pretending to be an overseer because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know, if you were... I wondered if maybe you ghosted a little bit out there. But the Assembly of the Eighth Sacrament gets to oversee Holy Grail wars because they use the name Holy Grail. So if there was a little Holy Grail, the church would want to know.
Yeah.
And I do think Amakusa knows their Holy Sacrament techniques. He knows, because he uses black keys and stuff. He knows the magic of the church, so he can pretend pretty easy.
Okay.
And the thing, like I said, the thing about Kire is that he didn't stay in one department. He moved around a lot. So he started as an executor probably at age 10, but didn't stay there, and eventually ends up an overseer. There are also exorcists who are employed similar to executors, but instead of hunting for heretics, they are charged with purification and defeating demonic possession. They aren't really concerned with destroying the enemy, just breaking possession and saving souls, so if demons just fuck off, they're fine. But apparently this is mentally taxing, so exorcists need a lot of willpower. And then, at least in Fate Prototype, there's mentioned there is the Order of the Templars. They are technically an outside group, though they seem to count members of the Holy Church among their members. They are even more extreme and zealous than the regular Holy Church, in that they will employ criminals and other radical methods to hunt heretics. So, yeah, they're the extremists among the extremists. But like I said, I think they've only been mentioned in Fate Prototype, so I don't know if they are a specific plot to that part of the universe. And that's basically what we got. The church is a very strong background element with a few details in to let you know how cool a character is, either because they hold a very badass position in the church, or they're a guy who got away from the church. But because of their nature, at least in Fate materials, they tend to be more in the backdrop, since we're not all about vampires. Like, the Holy Church obviously has a presence in Fate Stay Night and in Fate Zero, but they don't do much. They have another presence in Fate Apocrypha, but they don't do much. Mostly because in Fate Stay Night and Apocrypha, they've been shanghaied, the antagonists have used the Holy Church as a cover. So, there's that. But yeah, there's not a lot of deep dive, because most of the, technical details comes from, character backstories and, character details like we'd see in Tsukihime. So, I don't know, maybe when that remake comes out soon, he said they're in, Nasu said they're in playtesting. There'll be more to care about, but for now, it's just that's them. They do stuff. They're really cool, except when they completely job. I don't know, because that's the thing that happens a lot with Nasuverse type stuff, where it's this character is the biggest badass. They're the best at that stuff. They have special powers. Oh no, they immediately lost. And sometimes it's the church doing the surprise beating, like when in Zero, when Kirei shows how much of a Billy badass he is by overcoming Iris Veal, for instance, and other points where he's like, no, he's just really tough and strong. But also there's other stuff, where I can't remember his name. No, I do remember his name. Kodowa Frampton. He's really cool. He's a Holy Church guy, but mostly he's cool because he has mystic eyes. And even then, he still goes down hard versus a servant, even though technically their magic style is supposed to be good against spiritual entities. Though he had lost his eyes, so, he got him back, though. It's, like I said, it's a weird thing where, Holy Church members seem to job a lot, or they cause other people to job, which is pretty common in a lot of Nasu. There's a lot of, stunning overturns. It's a pretty obvious plot style. Alright, so that's the Holy Church, kids. You know what you know now. So our remaining two options are, what do we know about Grand Servants, and what is the Moon Cell? We're still not ready to talk about Lost Belts for another couple of months.
We're getting there.
But soon I will be able to explain that phenomena. And like I said earlier, if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments, leave them on the... some people I know do make suggestions in the, Patreon comments, so anywhere you're commenting, you can leave a suggestion. You can hit us up on Discord. Whatever. But yes, we will totally add Lost Belts to the options. Let's see, we're in 10, so there's 11, 12, so theoretically, if you guys don't suggest anything, we can probably knock out the last two. But I like there to be a poll for the sake of variety, so, we'll take your suggestions, maybe something will come up. Just like I said, try and focus on the Fate side of the stuff, because, we're not super familiar with Tsukihime, and I don't have to do a bunch of research for stuff that doesn't matter to Fate. Same with, Witch Knight and other things. It's it's cool and all, but some of those things are hard to get at in their original forms for us, and they're not necessarily directly relevant, so, yeah. Try to keep it focused on not just FGO stuff, because it can be other Fate stuff, but, ask your questions about things. I think we've covered most of the stuff. We've talked about, beasts, servants, lots of different stuff about skills. I don't know. I don't know if we've done a full-blown what is magecraft, per se, but also...
I don't know. That seems like a...
That would be a really chunky topic, because how Nasu handles magic is very much using magic is like computer programming electrical engineering. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, but that's only one aspect of magecraft, because then you have the magic from
there are also, like I said, there are different schools.
Numbers. It's
there's a lot of different elements, and there's a lot, it's better if you can find discrete things to break down.
Yeah.
Because the Holy Church have a style of magecraft, their holy sacraments. I broke it down to a bullet point, but if you wanted to expand that to what to mean, to actually detail it, that's a whole shitload of bullet points just for that. So yeah, if you guys can think of smaller chunks to tackle that in, let us know. Yeah. If you've got a specific area of magecraft stuff. Because I believe we've covered, Mystic Codes before.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about little bits and pieces, and we can keep doing that. But alright, that's out of the way.
Yeah!
Now it's time because we don't want to get... We know from Anime Power Hour, we never want to get behind on our animes.
Nope.
So we're going to talk about Babylonia real quick. This is the big boy Babylonia warning. Okay, they're all gone.
Sweet.
Let's talk about episode 3. So, they did the thing. The thing.
Yeah.
That we said. They did a montage. It was good.
Well, before that,
yes.
Before that, as we picked up right where episode left off, they're gonna fucking fight.
Yeah, we fight Gil.
Anna and Mash, and Kazgil animations are top percent.
Yes, it's another Babylonian anime fight scene. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's we get to see Gil in action. He uses his staves and wands not just to shoot stuff, but also to block. I will say, I think the way the fight is paced, while Gil obviously is very strong, he does also call it off before anybody can get super serious.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, he was he was just judging.
Yeah, so it's on this as an audience, it's hard to say that necessarily they were horribly outclassed by him or anything, right? Mm-hmm. It just kind of they're kind of mediocre, and Gil's I learned all I need to know.
Yeah,
and then Ishtar shows up.
King.
She busts in.
More great Ishtar shots.
Yes, there's a lot of great Ishtar moments. She has there's some funny discussions with the other characters who are lounging around. Ritsuko busts out the, hello, I'm your cushion.
Yeah, I actually missed that my first time around.
Yes, it's underplayed is the thing.
Yeah.
and we've talked about this before with dialogue. At the moment, most of the dialogue does not lean sassier. That said, that might just be a tone thing. Like, yes, a lot of the time you are the straight man, but there may be other times when characters are more serious that you are not the straight man. So we'll see.
As I said, like I still need my Skyrider High Justice Bomb and then Screaming Justice. I really, and people was mentioning this, like, remember the VA for is fucking Nobunaga, and that man is a fucking ham.
And he is one of the biggest nerds in which is saying a lot in the FGO voice actor. So yes, he'll want to do the line.
Yeah.
Also
on point here, Ishtar mentions the line, like, after this guy is dead, I'll still come save you. Just make sure you raise the white flag, and makes a hand motion. Which Sidori is like, huh?
I don't follow.
Super important.
Yeah. And it's like foreshadowing. But yeah, so Ishtar gets a second fight scene. It's a little short, but she goes with Gil. You get to kind of see some of the stuff she's capable of. She's still pretty strong in her martial arts, but now she actually, she shoots some of her Gunder beams with her finger gun. She tries to use gems, but Gil breaks them with a counterspell before she can do anything.
Poor rank.
Mash and Anna try to restrain her so she can't fuck anything up because they need Gil, but she manages to best them pretty good, and then she's just like, jeez, I don't even feel like fighting anymore. I'm just gonna fly off. Bye, nerds.
Well, she notices something about Anna, and is like,
Yeah, she, after, knocking Anna to the ground, she looks at me and he's like, and then just teleports off. She's like, go fly away, bye now. And then, like we said, we get the montage of scenes. Gil's like, Sidori will take care of your needs. Get the fuck out of here. I got work to do.
Here comes my second complaint. They didn't actually in the actual story chapter. Sidori actually explains what Caster Gale meant by you are not needed.
Yeah, I think we're stretching that out a little bit. She does explain that the king was being very kind when he told me to take care of everything for you. That's a lot from him.
Yeah, so, because in the chapter it actually explained you are not needed is the same thing as you are useless.
Right. You are not necessary is what he's saying, not that you can't do anything.
Yeah. And I don't know, I always kind of found that was kind of important because I think that kind of also highlights how Gil is.
Yeah, I think it is, but they might be saving that a little because they have to do a lot of montage sequences in this, right?
Yeah, I know. So I'm like, I'm on the fence on how I feel about that, but
I think they compress it down a little to be because we'll still get the Gil was actually not as much of an asshole later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But basically Sidori is like, listen, just work your way up from the top. Work your way up from the bottom. It'll be fine. You'll prove that you can do stuff and you've helped his people, and he'll loop you in on his plans. Here's your house.
Chaldea Embassy, booyah.
We get to see Mash activate Roundtable. It's literally the summoning animation.
Oh yeah.
Which is adorable. Obviously that was the implication the whole time, but it's really fun to see on screen. She opens direct visual communication to HQ, so you can talk about stuff. We get your first night scene there.
Mm-hmm.
So we meet Benkei, Ushi, and Leonidas. They show up. Ushi. Leonidas drinks a little too much and yells about math and things, which is great. Leonidas is great so far.
Leonidas is great. I'm really glad that he's actually getting some screen time. Mm-hmm. I knew he was, but as you see,
Benkei's still pretty subtle, which I kind of like because he's, I don't know, he's a little annoying in a lot of his text usually. So I like it. I like that they're slow playing him. They're not oversaturating him, so you get tired of his speech patterns or anything before it's he does stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We get a decent amount of Ushi doing her Ushiness.
Being cute.
Merlin shows up. Mash busts out a costume she doesn't have, where she puts on a Babylonia skirt. Because, I don't know, they're trying to hide dead ass. But it's not going to work, because this is FGO Babylonia.
It cannot be contained.
The Butts compilation will be immense. But yeah, so basically, Sidori sets it up, everybody has a good time, they eat good food, you have the comments about the cuisine and whatnot. And then it's okay, you guys gotta do odd jobs, and every day Sidori shows up, here's what your job is, and we do the montage, like we said. They shear sheep, they make bricks, they sell flowers, they do all kinds of stuff, and just... Oh, because we missed it. Because Gil reveals he's got a holy grail.
Yeah, he's just
you get 2 from this, so I think it's I'm reminded how awkward that is, because that's not the Holy Grail that matters.
Yeah, no, he just has one.
He just has one, because he's fucking Gil. But, so to obtain the Holy Grail, because apparently we're still confused about which one matters. Pro tip, it's the one that's in Kingu that actually matters. In case you forgot. But, Fujimaru says, but what if we defeated the 3 Goddess Alliance? And Gil's like, oh, Siduri, quick, make them stop. Your king will die of laughter. Which I love. It's great. Gil's
I
great.
love the aftermath when the guy was like, "Oh, your fun conversation." And he was like, "You fool! What part of this conversation do you think was fun?" It's like, we heard you laughing all the way out.
We heard you laughing from the bottom of the ziggurat. BT Dub's Ishtar is coming. which really sells how much of a problem they think she is. Because Gil's just like, whatever. This is like the second time this week. Every day she comes by.
Well, I don't know. I think they actually kind of like. I think they think of a problem.
It does kind of illustrate what they did in the actual story chapter, which is the citizens are concerned, which makes sense. Like, Siduri's the head priestess of the ritual sect, so, like,
yeah,
Ishtar is her city's patron goddess, so that's why their relationship is how it is. But everybody understands, well, Ishtar's here, I guess we have to fuck off for a couple of minutes until she's done talking to the king. Then we come back. But yeah, so that's why you're trying to work your way up, because that's when Gil is like, we don't need you to do that. Yeah. But it would be cool if you could. I don't think you can, though. Which, I don't know. Gil can see the... what is it? Gil sees just the future, I think was the thing he said.
Yep.
So, I assume that means he knows that we could do it, just, I guess he figures he has to set us on this path. I don't know for sure. Anyway.
Well,
so we start doing chores.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of the great ones. There's a little bit of subtle build. Anna gets her great, adorable face when she gets to eat a honey cake.
Here comes my third complaint. They didn't do the montage scenes of the underground people where you randomly fight a Kyuhime.
I mean, I'm actually glad they did that, because that didn't make any fucking sense. And
yeah, I know, but Gil actually references it when he's complaining that you're doing all this interesting stuff.
I don't know, maybe he'll reference the spirits. Because that's how the episode ends, is you get a day off, and Anna is like, here's some of the silver I've been saying. We're going to do a job today. I need you to go
and Kidu coin!
We need you to punch ghosts in the sewer for some reason. Yeah. And Fujimaru is like, okay, I guess we'll do that. So they punch ghosts, and then they have a discussion about the age of gods, right? Like, the death of the body is not necessarily the death of the soul, and vice versa. Yeah. These ghosts are like Shinigami. They're like Grim Reapers. They are stealing souls away, and then the people get sick and fall asleep and die. Mm-hmm. Their physical bodies eventually die. But if we kill the Reapers, the disease won't spread, and they'll come back. Foreshadowing Arash Kigal's influence. And then... Oh yeah, the episode ends with an ominous... Or is it post-credits? Is an ominous shot of Gorgon.
Yeah.
It's been a few days. I'm trying to remember. We get ominous Gorgon foreshadowing with Kingu and, like, Mother and blah blah blah, but we don't get a direct setup to the next episode, I don't think, which should... Yeah, no. I guess it would be us reporting to Gil all the stuff we've done over our month or whatever, and then him going...
What the fuck? Why are you doing all this cool shit?
Oh, you're having so much fun. And then we go out and do stuff. That was pretty good, because they did foreshadow Kingu, so I think it's about time for him to re-enter the story after being out for basically an episode and a half.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm in it for the comedy bits. I need a fucking Gil to get punched in the stomach by a fucking Spriggan or something.
Yes, we need to see some Spriggans. Just for the jokes. And like I said, like, I'm kind of okay they don't reference, like, shadow servants and stuff, because that's, like, nonsensical.
Yeah.
Like, if they want to do something with Ibaraki, because she has physically been summoned to this timeline and fucked off.
Well, like, here's the thing. The servants are probably going to get missions. Who knows? Maybe they might even do a cameo of Tomoe fighting, sacrificing herself.
Yeah, because I don't think they mentioned the summoning, so I would love if they did that as, like, a pseudo flashback. Because Tomoe has a design now.
Yeah. But, like, Ibaraki doesn't actually really get referenced until in the story
She
at
gets
all.
a special free quest, basically.
Yeah, she gets a spree quest, but that's it.
But yeah, like I said, I'm wondering if maybe they could, like, work that into some of the pacing for, like, stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Because that could also just be a cutaway gag where they're like, and Berserker Ibaraki just ran off into the mountains, and it's just, like, a cutaway gag to just her and some bandits chilling in the mountains. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm like I said, I don't remember exactly what events are next in the order, but it'll be good. We're still having this discussion of, like, who is this anime for, right? Like, we're not...
Yeah.
Like, I think we've even had some discussion with some of our fan bases said that, like, they're in European countries where Fate isn't as big, and the anime's being distributed there, but it might not necessarily make sense to people who do not follow FGO directly. Because FGO isn't officially released anywhere in Europe because they're really weird about all this gacha stuff. So, yeah, I expect that's probably going to be weird for the overall international audience, but we'll see as time goes on. But yeah, mostly we're just in anticipation right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's everything. The show is about at 2 hours.
Solid episode.
Yeah, it's a big old episode. There's a little bit of pauses and stuff at points, so we'll cut that down. I gotta do some other editing too. Like, I gotta throw my filters on the front. But alright, so I think it's time for final thoughts. So next week on Let's Talk FGO, we'll probably talk about the overall story of Halloween, because it'll be over. We'll also talk about whatever JP is doing next, because they'll have to do something. They're doing literally nothing right now. There's not even like a stopgap half AP or anything. So, that'll come up, and I'm sure we'll have other stuff and things. Oh, another detail, they confirmed there's going to be a localization panel at Anime Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
And Yu Asakawa, voice of Medusa, and all other snacks will be there.
It's great. I love her. She's amazing.
Cool. I wonder if it'll be streamed or not. We'll see.
We'll see.
Is that one of the stops on the USA tour? Is Atlanta? It might be. I don't remember them all. But there's they did their first couple on the West Coast, and then there's going to be a couple towards the East Coast. I don't remember which ones. There might be one in Chicago instead. I don't know. We'll see. But they're doing a panel at Atlanta, and Voice of Medusa will be there. It's cool. But alrighty, I think that's the show. So we'll go ahead and wind down.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that, hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to give it a like, or give it a dislike. I don't care. It means nothing. Just engage with the episode. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below, or you can hit us on our Discord. That link is in the description, or on our channel page. You can join our conversations about stuff and things. And if you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can always get our latest content. And to make sure you're up to date exactly when we post stuff, don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. That'll let you know when we're streaming or when a new episode premieres, so you can always be ready to watch right away. You won't miss anything. And of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get access to episodes in audio format, downloadable early, as soon as they're done editing, like really, really quick after they come out. Direct you to download, $1 a month, super cheapo. And if you're willing to pay more, you can give more. You can get extra goodies like voting in polls, early access to videos, being able to listen to the show live, shoutouts, etc. And that's really everything, other than that, we also have merch that links in the description. Check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the show. So, like we said, we'll see you next week. I gotta go stretch my bones out.
I will contemplate if this will be our most disliked episode.